Hey SermonCentral, this is Matt again. Hope y'all are doing great today, feeling excited and encouraged about the ministry that you're doing. I wanted to take a moment today to share with you something I've been thinking a ton about, which is Mark chapter 4, which is this really well-known passage where Jesus is sleeping in a boat while these waves are crashing in and the disciples kind of start getting real scared and nervous. And Jesus is sleeping next to them. And the reason I started thinking about this, I was thinking a ton about, I know in my life in ministry with my family, my wife and I have 2 kids, we're pretty busy, but just this idea of not only resting, but trusting God, even when the situation just seems completely out of control. So in Mark chapter 4, you probably know this well, but it says this, right? A furious squall came up, the waves broke over the boat, so that it was nearly swamped. So Jesus is there in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. The disciples wake him and they say to him, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" And that line right there strikes me. Teacher, Rabbi, don't you care if we drown? And that word drown means, right, to perish, to be obliterated from the earth. Teacher, don't you care that we could lose our lives here in this boat today? And you probably know well the rest of the story. Jesus stands, he calms the waters, and then he asks them, he says, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith? Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" And these disciples had walked with him, they knew him. And yet, but here's the thing that catches me, and this is what I want to share today with you. There's maybe 2 things that catch me. Number 1, why was Jesus able to sleep in the middle of this storm that was so violent that the disciples thought they were going to lose their lives? And maybe it's because Jesus had intimate knowledge of the Father, that Jesus intimately knew. He had full, not only knowledge, but accepted that the Father knew what was going on, and Jesus trusted the Father, so much so that even in the middle of a storm, he could take a nap. He could take a nap. I mean, think about that. Think of the implications, right? Do I trust the Father so much that even in the middle of a storm, I can rest because I know who's ultimately in control? So that strikes me. And then the second thing is what the disciples say, which is, don't you even care that we might drown? Again, don't you care that we might die here today, Jesus? And isn't the irony that Jesus, the whole reason he was on earth was to save, was to give eternal life. And so it's amazing, right? This contrast of, don't you even care that we're going to die here? And maybe in Jesus' mind, he's thinking, I wish you fully understood why I was here. I wish you could fully embrace what my mission is, even in being with you today. And so, friends, 2,000 years later, maybe the encouragement here is that we do know the end of this story, right? We do know that Jesus rose again, that Jesus is alive and well, and is the anchor that we latch into, that he is our great high priest. We know that, so much so, right, that who are we now to then look back up to heaven and say, don't you even care? Don't you even know? I'm dying here. And yet Jesus, maybe if he was here with us, he'd say, he said, I know it can be scary. I know the storms are going to come, but the encouragement is, right, to not only trust the Father who's in control, but trust that Jesus came to give us life, and that he actually cared so much about our state, our eternal state, that he came to be with us. He came to be with us. It's mind-boggling. So that's some of what we're thinking about here. I hope that encourages you as you maybe turn to Mark 4, or maybe you're in the middle of a storm and maybe you need to be reminded today that the Father's in control. You can rest. You can rest. Or maybe just to remember today that Jesus does care about you and about me. He cares about your church. He cares about your family. He cares about the things going on. And we can trust him. So thanks for listening. We're going to have another devotional for you next week. We're really excited about the opportunity to encourage and admonish so many of you as you encourage and admonish so many others. What a beautiful picture of how we can collectively build one another up in the faith through our giftings, through the channels that we have to do that. So thanks for listening. I'm Matt with SermonCentral here from Colorado Springs. And let's remember, hey, to the ends of the earth we go. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.